Welcome to the General's Secret, a world where power hides in the shadows and every legacy is built on a mystery. Across 80 gripping episodes, we will uncover a truth buried for decades, a secret that has shaped the very fabric of our history. From the corridors of power to the streets of Lagos, no corner will remain dark, no lie will remain untold. It begins with a single child, a red coral bead, and a destiny that will shake the foundations of power. Prepare yourself. The secret is about to be revealed. This is the General's Secret.
On a stormy night in Lagos, the rain fell without mercy. Thunder rolled across the sky as a shadowy figure approached the old orphanage gate. In their arms, a tiny newborn, wrapped in a worn blanket. The figure placed the baby gently at the gate, hesitated for a moment, and then disappeared into the darkness as the rain grew heavier. Inside the orphanage, the soft cry of the baby echoed through the hallway. A tired matron, awakened by the sound, followed the faint cries until she reached the entrance. She opened the gate and gasped. There, shivering in the cold night air, lay the child. No note, no name. Nothing but a single red coral bead tied around his wrist. She lifted the baby into her arms and whispered, "Chukwuemeka, God has done something great." And from that moment, the boy with no name was given a destiny he did not yet understand.
Morning came softly over Lagos as the rain finally stopped. Inside the orphanage, the baby slept peacefully in the matron's arms, wrapped in a dry blanket. She studied him closely, her eyes settling on the single red coral bead tied around his tiny wrist. It was old, beautifully carved, and clearly valuable, not something a desperate parent would leave behind by accident. She whispered to herself, "This child, he comes from somewhere important." The other children gathered around, curious and excited. They touched the baby's hand, giggling as he stretched and yawned. For the first time since he arrived, the room felt warm again. But the matron's mind was troubled. She had worked in the orphanage for over 20 years, and she had seen many abandoned children. But never one with a coral bead like this. Never one left in the middle of a storm. Never one whose arrival felt intentional. She held the baby close and said softly, "You are special, my child, and one day the world will know your name." Days passed, and the baby grew stronger. The matron noticed something unusual about him. He rarely cried. He watched people with deep, quiet eyes that seemed older than his tiny body. The other children adored him. They rocked his crib, sang to him, and touched the coral bead on his wrist. The matron warned them gently, "Be careful with that bead. It is the only clue to where he came from." One warm afternoon, sunlight filtered through the dusty windows. The matron lifted the baby and whispered, "From today, you will be called Chukwuemeka, because your life is a gift from God." The baby smiled for the first time, a small, warm smile that melted her heart. And so, my name was given, a reminder that even in the storm, there is a grace that remains. Far away, in a quiet mansion on the outskirts of Lagos, a wealthy woman sat alone, staring at an empty crib. Her hands trembled as she touched her wrist, a wrist that once held a matching red coral bead, a bead she no longer had, a bead she had left with her son. She whispered into the silence, "My child, wherever you are, forgive me." Back at the orphanage, the matron rocked Chukwuemeka gently, unaware of the powerful destiny tied to the coral bead, and the secrets that would one day return to claim him. Weeks passed, and Chukwuemeka grew faster than any child the matron had ever cared for. He lifted his head early. He followed voices with surprising focus. He reached for things with unusual strength. One evening, as the children played, a metal cup fell from a table and rolled toward the baby's crib. Before it touched the ground, it stopped, as if held by an invisible hand. The matron froze. The children gasped. The baby simply stared at the cup, his quiet eyes glowing with curiosity. The matron whispered, "Lord, what kind of child are you?" The truth was no longer a secret to be kept. It was a war to be fought. And the path forward led into the heart of the general's legacy. Rumors began to spread in the neighborhood. People whispered about the baby with the coral bead. Some said he was blessed, others said he was cursed. But everyone agreed on one thing: he was not ordinary. One afternoon, the matron took him to the market. Women selling vegetables paused to stare. A man carrying yams stopped mid-step. Even the Okada riders lowered their voices. The baby looked around calmly, as if he had seen this world before. The truth was no longer a secret to be kept. It was a war to be fought. And the path forward led into the heart of the general's legacy. That same day, a black SUV parked quietly near the market. Inside sat a man in dark glasses, watching the matron carry the child. He zoomed in with his camera, focusing on the coral bead. He made a call. "He's alive," he said. "And he's here." The voice on the other end replied, "Do not approach, not yet." The SUV drove away slowly, leaving behind a trail of questions the matron didn't even know existed. The shadows had found their target. The invisible hunt had begun, and the peace of the orphanage was now a countdown. What do you think happens next? Tell us in the comments, and follow Stories Africana for the next episode.